guys, this is Sharon, and today I'm gonna show you how I made this crocheted Granny Square Cardigan. It's very easy to make, and as you can see, this is the color. These are the armholes, and believe it or not, we just made it out of a very big Granny Square. And look at the back. So stay tuned, and I'm gonna show you how to make it. For this project, I'll be using a number 6mm crochet hook, and I'll be starting with a slip knot. And this is a medium weight or worsted weight yarn, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to chain 4. So maybe you have noticed I am using a thinner yarn but a bigger hook because I want my project to be drapey. That's why I am using a bigger hook. So the bigger hook you use for your thin yarn, the drapier it gets. And then slip stitch to form a ring. And we're gonna start working our granny square with chaining 3, which counts as 1 double crochet, and then 2 more double crochets into the ring. After that, we're going to chain 2 and then work 3 double crochets in the center of the ring, and we're gonna do this until we have 4 groups of 3 double crochets, and in between we're going to chain 2. So we need 2 more groups of double crochets and then chain 2. After chaining 2, we're going to slip stitch on top of the chain 3. Now, we don't want to, because whenever we join the rounds, as we move on to the next round, you will see the seam showing, and we want that to be unnoticeable. So to do that, instead of working chain 3 to continue the stitch here, instead we're going to chain 3 and then going back to the last chain 2 space, we're going to work our last 2 double crochets to create a 1DC group. So this is a cluster of double crochets, and then we chain 2, and then these 4 corners are going to have 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets. So that's going to be the increase for every round. So from rounds 2, as you move on, every corner must have 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochet, and then in between work 2 double crochets. Get back to the first cluster of double crochets that we've made. We're going to add 1 more group of double crochets, and then after 3 double crochets we're going to chain 2 and then slip stitch on top of the chain 3. So that is the basic granny square. There are actually a lot of ways on how to make one, but this is what I did when I made the cardigan. So rounds 3 to 30, you can do the same thing, work your first group of double crochet in the last chain 2 space, and then chain 2, and then work a double crochet group, which is 3 double crochets. This is a cluster of 3 double crochets, and then chain 2, and then you're gonna repeat what you did on round 2, 2 double crochets, 2 groups of double crochets, and chain 2 in between. So keep doing that until you get the length you want for the granny square. I did about 24 rounds of this granny square, so this is how big it is right now. It measures about 30 inches, and I ran out of this color of yarn. Luckily, I have this particular yarn that is almost similar to the combination of the color of this yarn, and this one is also a branded yarn from Australia. It's called Esther 8-ply yarn, about 100 grams. This one I think is about 200 grams. It's double the size of this skein, and I have used 6mm crochet hook because I want the tension to be a bit loose. So the bigger hook you use for a particular yarn this size, medium weight, the drapier it will get. So if you want your tension to be a bit loose, you can use a bigger hook. Okay, so next clip I'm gonna show you how to work double crochets around this granny square. I'm going to slip stitch on top of the third beginning chain. So after slip stitching in there, we're gonna start by same thing as how we started making this granny square. We're going to chain 3 and then add 2 double crochets under the chain 2 space. So 2, and then after that we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch. So 1 here and here, and then we have the chain 2 space in here, so we're gonna add 2 double crochets. So this is what we're going to repeat around. 1 double crochet in every stitch, and then in the corners we're going to do the same thing. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets. When you get to the corner, just work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets, and then when you get to the corner space, you're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, all in the same chain 2 space. And don't forget to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. And then continue working 1 double crochet in every stitch, and in every corner space you're gonna do what we did here. So I got back around and I'm gonna chain 2 for the last time and then slip stitch on top of the third beginning chain. And then after this, you can leave a long tail for sewing because we're going to sew the sides to create the armhole. After this, I am now folding the granny square in half. I'm gonna fold this in half, and you can fold it either way because they have the same size anyway. It's about probably 31 inches by 31 inches. And after that, I'm going to leave like 7 inches from here to here. So I'm gonna sew from here until the end here, so that this will be the armhole, and they're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So you'd probably want about 7 inches wide, or depending on how big your wrist is or your hand. So usually it's 7, but if you think that's too big, you can make it a bit smaller. And then once you have decided the length for the armhole, or the size of the armhole, and then from here to here you're going to sew them up, and then later on we're going to make the color of the granny square. With the wrong sides facing each other, so this is how I usually do it, just to make sure that it will not be crooked. I'm going to add a stitch marker in this corner, and then I'll try to add a stitch marker in between those clusters of double crochet, just to make sure that when I get to the armhole, the size of this armhole will be the same as the other side. So just let it face flat on the table, and then measure it. So for now, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add stitch markers to where I will start sewing, so around from here until here. When you're in doubt, you can always add these pins and then try it on to see if it fits. So that's what I did, just to make sure that the armhole will not be too big or too small for my wrist. And since I think this size is enough, I'm gonna measure it right now. When I measured it from here till here, it's about 5 inches. So this is what I'm gonna do. So I will leave 5 inches open, and then from here until here, I'm going to sew them up. You could do a whip stitch. In my case, maybe that's what I'll do. So to sew this side, I'm starting on this side by catching both loops of the corner space. So that is where I'm gonna start, and I'd probably tie this later or weave in the ends later. Then make sure that you're catching both loops of both stitches on the other side. You don't have to use a stitch marker, just make sure that you're stitching both ends or both stitches of both sides. So this is what it looks like. I'm just sewing this, catching the 2 loops of this double crochet on this side and on the counter part of this stitch. So I'm just going zigzag right now, catching both loops of both stitches until I get to this side and leaving 5 inches opening. Same thing with what I did in the other side. So if you chose to sew it like that, it's gonna look like this. There's like a bump on this one. Now there are many ways on how to join the piece. If you don't like this idea, you can check out some of the tutorials on how to make the cocoon cardigan, but I find this much better because it looks like a kind of like a cable stitch, but I guess it's up to you. Or you can just sew around the 2 loops of both sides. Others, they do that. They catch this loop only and the other loop on the other side. But I want to make it sturdy, so I'm catching both loops of both stitches until I get to the other side, leaving 5 inches opening for the armhole. Okay, so we're almost done sewing the side, and then I'm gonna turn the inside out because I'm at the end of my sewing, and I'm going to secure it by, okay, I couldn't find my needle. Okay. So this time I'm gonna go around twice to make sure that the seam is secured so that it will not come undone later. So I'm gonna tie a knot many times because you can't just, you know, leave it just as that, because if it's unsecured it might come undone later. And then after this you can now cut off the ends, and there you go. So this is what it looks like. So when you fold it like this, this is what's gonna look like. So this is what's going to be from the back, from the neck down to your back, and this is the metal part, and this is the armhole. So next step is we're gonna work the collar. So we're gonna start working a series or maybe 4 rows of 1 double crochet in every stitch. So this time we're gonna make the collar of this cardigan, and it's very simple. We're just gonna work a few more rounds of 1 double crochet in every stitch. And to start, you need the color of yarn that would go with the cardigan. So in my case, I'm still gonna use the dark colored yarn, and I'm gonna make a slip knot, and then I'm gonna start right here and then work a slip stitch to join. So in the corner space, I'm gonna work chain 3 and then 2 more double crochets. So 1 and 2, and then in every stitch work a double crochet. So we're gonna do that until we get back around. When you get to the other side and when you get to the chain space, you're going to on the first chain space right here, you're gonna work your 3 double crochets. And then after that, in the next chain space here, work your another 3 double crochets. And then continue working 1 double crochet in every stitch. I made it back around, and now this chain space here gets 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then after that, work a slip stitch on top of the first double crochet, which is the beginning 3rd chain. And then you might want to fasten off if you think that the edging is enough. So this is how it looks like with 2 rows of 1 double crochet in each stitch, and I plan to add like maybe 3 more, and then I'm gonna add more rounds on this one 1 double crochet in every stitch, and I'm gonna show you. Now to make the armholes, you're going to, this is, okay, just let me show you how it's looking like so far. Okay, so when you lay it like this on the table, this is where your butt area had armholes. And I finished one already. I did about 4 rows, and there's a decrease on each end. And here I finished with 4 rows of 1 double crochet in every stitch. So I'm going to show you how I did how I'm gonna work the armhole, and by doing that I'm gonna start somewhere over here, because this is where the front is showing once you wear this cardigan. So you don't want to start the join here, but instead somewhere around here. And then you can start working chain 3, 1 2 3, and then try to work a decrease in the next 2 double crochet together, and then keep working 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches. So once you get to the middle part of round 1, when you were doing a double crochet on the sleeves, the next thing is you work a decrease once you get to this part right here. So every time you get to this side, you're gonna work a decrease every round. So this is what's gonna look like. So there are decreases every round, 2 double crochets together, so that this will look narrow as we move on to the next round. So it's gonna look like this. It's not straight, otherwise it will not look good. And unfortunately, I missed that part of the video. So once you get on this part right here, do not forget to make a decrease, and then do the same thing as what you did in the first round. You're gonna make a decrease on both sides to achieve this narrow look. And then once I got back around, I'm gonna slip stitch on top of the third beginning chain, and I'm just going to repeat what I did in round 1. So chain 3 as my starting chain, double crochet, and then I'm going to work a decrease on the next 2, and then work my decrease again on the other side. So you're just basically going to repeat round 1 for 3 more times if you plan to work 4 rounds, so that the shape of the armhole or the sleeves will be like this. The opening is getting narrow, and you want that to achieve. And after that, you're done. You're just going to weave in the ends. And there you go. You now have a cardigan that is super easy to make, and it's best especially on a very cold weather. Here in Baguio City, it's getting colder, and the coldest month is January. That's why I decided to make this very beautiful cardigan. And thanks to my sister for giving me this wonderful yarn from Australia. Thank you so much, and have a good day.